Zach kind of alluded to it, but week two gives us a bunch of Big 12 matchups that are, Power Four clashes. We have Arizona State, Mississippi State. You mentioned that one. Houston, Oklahoma. Probably not going to go well for the Cougars. Colorado-Nebraska, Kansas, Illinois, Iowa, Iowa State, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, and SMU and BYU. SMU now a Power Four team. Weird to think. So from a conference perspective, which of these, if the Big 12 were to win, would be like the biggest feather in the cap for the Big 12?
I feel like the obvious answer has to be Colorado, and not because it's necessarily even going to have a lot to do with maybe the shakeup at the top with the Big 12 title game or anything that way. I just think with so much attention on Colorado, there no matter what happens, if they beat Nebraska, an old rivalry back in the Big 12 and the two were there originally, I think there just says a lot there, right? Dylan Raiola, he's getting a lot of praise right now at Nebraska. There's a lot of people that want to see him succeed. Obviously, a billion people want to see Prime succeed or fail. I'm sure there's, many of that as well. But I think, the only other one that I was looking at is maybe Iowa State upsetting Iowa. That's obviously a rivalry game that would do well, but I just don't know that that moves the needle beating Iowa, right? And so I think when you're looking at the whole perspective of it, yes, Arizona State beating Mississippi State would be great. It's another notch in the cap against the SEC. But I just don't know that there's anything this week that notches that above a Colorado beating Nebraska, just simply because of the fan favorite, the impact of that game in terms of what people are projecting with Nebraska, what people are projecting with Colorado. So it has its impact, but I don't think it's an impact in terms of what many would expect in terms of saying like, oh, this is a great opportunity for the Big 12 to beat an SEC team. Yes, if you could have one of those games, I think that's always going to do well. But there's always this nice massaging that the SEC can do. Last year, the SEC was terrible in non-conference play, and that they still found a way at the end of the season to kind of massage that conversation and say, we have this tough conference play, and they do, that it doesn't really matter. So I
Hmm.
think to me, you negate a lot of that conversation right now. Yes, if Arizona State wins, then I think, or even, let's say Houston wins, then I think we can have maybe some of that conversation. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it has to be Colorado, just simply because of the metrics and the numbers and everything else that relate to that.
I kind of disagree. I think, Iowa does, I think,
Oh,
move the needle a little bit, right? Maybe it's just because I'm a Big Ten guy and punting is, I'm flying the flag for punting here, but
you got your
um,
shirt, huh? Punt for win.
only punts.
Yeah.
But Iowa's really good this year. Like they had some big offense. I know that's kind of, that hasn't been Iowa's MO for the last decade, but they had some big offense in that first game, and they looked like they maybe had kind of changed some things up with a new offensive coordinator. And on the other side of that, Iowa State was kind of underwhelming. I think they only scored 21 points against North Dakota, and they're supposed to be pretty good as well. So I think that's going to be a really good game that we need to see some questions. Can Iowa State continue to elevate itself to the next tier of the Big 12? And B, I think Iowa, the Hawkeyes are just really good. And that's always a rivalry game, and it's always just passionate and everything. And yeah, so I think if Iowa State beats Iowa, that is a huge deal for the Big 12, and I think tells us really how good Iowa State can be this year.
Yeah, so I hear the arguments for both what y'all are saying, and I kind of agree with both of you. At the same time, I'm going to mention a completely different game. So there you go. Uh, uh, so I'll just throw this one out there, and it speaks to what Josh was saying. Anytime you can beat the SEC, it's a good thing. And so I realize Arkansas is an Old Miss. It's not Missouri. It's not obviously Georgia or Alabama. But I feel like Oklahoma State needs to take care of business and beat Arkansas. And Oklahoma State's right there, I think, with Utah and Arizona and K-State maybe at the top of the league as one of, the contenders this year. So that's a game I just feel like they need to win. It's important for the Big 12, and it is one of those, Big 12 versus SEC, talking points. I completely agree, Josh, that the SEC has a way of saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter," or it's still the SEC and start thumping its chest. But um, now, to both of y'all's points, Colorado's the buzziest team in the Big 12, maybe the country. If they beat Nebraska, the buzz is just you're not gonna be able to stop hearing it. Yeah, because Prime will be everywhere. We'll be living in primetime land. So that'd be great for the Big 12. And then Zach, I mean, I agree that beating a ranked Iowa team would be huge for the Cyclones. A lot of times, even in Matt Campbell's good years there at Iowa State, Iowa's just had the Cyclones number. They call that the Cy-Hawk Trophy, is what they give out for that. It's a big deal in Iowa. They don't have pro sports in Iowa. They have about um, 8 different Major League Baseball teams they can't watch because they're in the land of what am I?
Blackout.
Yes, blackout. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Yeah, poor Iowa. So this is their Super Bowl. And yeah, I mean if Iowa State can win, man, that would be huge for Matt Campbell for the Big 12. It looks like Iowa has like a little more offense this year. Last year, I mean, they were the team that you just knew was going to go out and score like 7 to 13 points and win. It's just they were so ugly. So
But the punter was really good. Really good.
Like your
even
punter.
those punters, man.